Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Williams. This is the progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. Remember, you can also send me a tweet to EGBERTOWILLIES. That is, at Egberto Williams. Let us engage. It is politics done right.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Williams, your host. Thank you so kindly for being a part of the show. We are going to have a great show for you today. Today is the day that our good sister Elizabeth Warren released her Medicare For All bill and how it is going to be paid for. So we have two candidates who support Medicare For All. One who says that we are going to raise taxes on the middle class and everybody else to pay for it. And Elizabeth Warren, who came out with a bold plan, Bernie Sanders being the person who said that there will be also taxes on the middle class. I think at this current point in time, as we see, Elizabeth Warren has decided to say no for all the people, for all the corporations, for all the wealthy that have built their wealth, for all these people that for all these years, for decades, have been over and over and over sucking it to you all of the times. She's saying, you know what? We are going to do it this time and give you a break. Donald Trump gave a huge tax cut, what we call the big, large tax cut scam. The one that nobody asked, where is that trillion point something dollars coming from? Where is it coming from? Actually, what's coming from you? What was going to be done from it today? It's amazing. Today, it was on not the show that comes right after Morning Joe. They asked, what were the results of the Donald Trump tax cut? Well, they took 7 months before the tax cut, rather 7 quarters before the tax cut. Was it 7? I think it was 7 quarters before the tax cut, and 7 after. Actually, I think, how many that'll be 14 quarters? No, I think that would be I think it was 7 months before the tax cut, 7 months after the tax cut, to see what is the difference in the performance of the economy. Given that we got a sugar high immediately after that, we would probably say, let's do a test. Let's see if, this tax cut maybe took a while to kick in and that sort of thing. So let's go ahead and see what is going on exactly. Well, guess what? After they did their test, they realized that the tax cut, before the taxes got placed and after, the economy went down. So here we go. The media is not publicizing that the tax cut was a utter and dismal failure because the economy fell after the tax cut compared to how it performed before the tax cut. We don't get a whole lot of big stories about that, but on the same day today it was released, of course, Elizabeth Warren's new plan. And you know what? I'm not done reading it. I'm sort of probably a third of the way through, but my blog of the week will sort of discuss some of what she has in the preamble. It will discuss some of the things she mentioned. And I tell you something, folks, she throws down the gauntlet. Now, because most people don't sit down and read policy, right? The gauntlet that she throws down should normally fall on the, in other words, the gauntlet that she throws down should really be something that the media should pick up and say, hey, Elizabeth Warren has thrown down the gauntlet for all the politicians, not only the people on the right, but she has thrown down the gauntlet for the people on the left. She has thrown down the gauntlet to say, what are you going to do? I made my move. What's your move now? Can you support what I am supporting with Medicare for All and how I'm going to pay for it? Because you know what? You guys said, you guys implied, none of you could figure out a way that says, let me create a plan in which I am not going to sock it to the middle class. Let me create a plan in which finally, I can say it's not only going to be better for the middle class, but the middle class is actually going to get a tax cut. And how does this tax cut work? This is great, man. I mean, she beats what I thought she was going to do. I thought, okay, she would come out, and my theory was the following. My theory was Elizabeth Warren was going to come out with a plan. Her plan was going to be to do something that I wrote about several weeks ago, define premiums as a tax because it's something that has to be paid. And if you define premium as a tax and your regular taxes that you have to pay, given that the premiums would have to fall, she would just say there are no tax cuts, but there are no premiums being paid to insurance companies. Instead, these premiums are going to be paid to the where? These premiums are going to be paid to the who? The government as an insurance company. And that way she could get around, technically speaking, calling it a tax increase. But no. Elizabeth Warren realized the most important thing. That most important thing that Elizabeth Warren realized is that the obscene nature of wealth in this country. Americans, when you hear an American say something like, you could not possibly tax the wealthy enough, just does not understand the amount of wealth there is in this country. They just do not understand how much wealth has been pilfered from the middle class. They really do not get it. They don't know. And we can't blame them because the media doesn't advertise it. Just think about this. The top 5 people in this country are 4 people by now. They own more in wealth, in assets, than the bottom 170 something million people in this country. That is wealth. Think about that. I need you guys to really understand what the wealthy looks like. You have not seen a wealthy person, the real wealthy, because they're not out there. They have the wards of the plutocracy that protects them. There are wards out there. They're the executives that we hear make 40 million and 50 million. We think those are the rich people. Those are not the rich people. When we are talking about what the Koch brothers really have, what the Bezos really have, what the Gates really have, that is where the kind of wealth we're talking about. Do you know what $160 billion in the hand of one person means? And do you also understand that there is an impossibility for one person to really make $160 billion? Do you understand that it's our economic model? We created a man-made economic model, not a human-made, a man-made economic model that allows the pilfering of most. It isn't an economic model that says, let's honor worth. Let's honor what you bring to society. Let's honor what you have grown. Let's honor what you create. A stockbroker creates not a damn thing, but he is the wealthiest person in this country. These people that trade on capital, they create absolutely nada, niet, nothing. Ellos crean nada, pero ellos son los que tienen el dinero. They are the ones with the capital. We have to change the paradigm. I mean, it's not going to change overnight because as any engineer would tell you, or any scientist would tell you, large gradients create disaster. In other words, if you try to change things super fast, you create disasters. But you need to change things fast enough for people to realize that change is in fact possible. So when you hear Bernie Sanders, when you hear Elizabeth Warren talk about transformational change, that is exactly what we have to be looking forward to. And what we have to do is get away from the fear that the plutocracy, those people who have been pilfering us over and over and over and over again. We have to develop that strength from within. We have to get out of the Powell Manifesto's indoctrination that taught us that we need to be subservient. We have to get away from all these things that has put us in a model that says, I own you, I own you, I own you. Because that is what's happening. The reason why we as a society tolerate this is because we don't call it slavery anymore, because that's a nasty word and that would bring reactions, right? We don't call it indentured servitude anymore. But you wake up in the mornings and you see all the robots going to work, all of us. You see all of us following a particular pattern that the masters put out for us to do. And in as much as we are the creators, in as much as we are the ones that make things, in as much as we are the ones with the intellect, in as much as we have our teachers out there spending more than 8 hours a day with our kids, the ones that provide the services most treasured to us, we underpay. And the ones that pilfer us, the ones that take what's ours, we have no problem giving them the money, and not only that, but protecting them as if they deserve it, as if they've earned it. The first thing that we have to learn as a society is to realize where worth begins. Who have the ability to create worth. And it isn't the billionaire. It is not the billionaire. The billionaire creates nothing. He manipulates a system that was created for him. He manipulates a system that says you can do it, and then he fools everybody into believing that, guess what? You can too. But you can never get there. Nobody can get there. You are invited there. You are chosen to be there. You are chosen to first be the wards of the plutocracy, the executive class. And by the way, I was in corporate America as well at one time. So this is not an attack on anybody. This is just a way the system works to promote itself. Right? And that is what we have to get deep on the inside. And when we develop that courage, when we develop that wherewithal to realize that we are the ones that make things, we are the ones that create things, we are the ones where the power lies, we are the ones where there is still one person, one vote. When we realize that that is where the power lies, then there's nothing the plutocracy can do. The Partnership for the Healthcare of America that is now in process of lying to you about everything you need to know about healthcare. If you use your head and just remember the basic math that we've been taught, you would actually know that they are full of crap. And that is where we need to go. Brothers and sisters, so today's show is titled, and we're about to start the show. I know I can get kind of talkative sometimes. Hello, Lee Grant. Welcome aboard. Welcome aboard. Welcome aboard. And folks, it's a call-in show, and anybody who wants to call and refute what I'm saying or agree, disagree, I don't really care, because that is what this forum is for. An exchange of ideas. You hear mine, a lot of them is backed up by what I like to say, math. But let's see what you have to say. I mean, when it comes to healthcare, I tell people all the time, math is absolute. There's no way just paying for healthcare alone can be more expensive than having 100 different insurance companies who have a lot of other costs and then pay for insurance. They ask you to stupefy yourself to believe that fraud. And you know what? Complicit in all of this is those of us who are Democrats, those of us who are progressive Democrats. Intrinsic with this, we have to come to the realization that our discussion, our discourse, our fight is going to have to be localized first. We are going to have to win the battle of ideas among our folk first. We have to earn what we are going to do first. Anyhow, going to the show. Title of the show. El nombre del programa hoy. The name of the program today is Elizabeth Warren's released Medicare for All plan puts opponents on the defensive. Elizabeth Warren's released Medicare for All plan puts opponents on the defensive. Subtitle: Elizabeth Warren released her version of Medicare for All and how to pay for it. Most importantly, it forces those who oppose it to answer very difficult questions. Again, I love the way Elizabeth implemented it because you know what? I tell you, this woman is bad. This woman is bad, man. I hadn't a clue this is a tack that she would take. I just expected her to call premiums a tax, I swear to God. I expected Elizabeth Warren to simply call premiums a tax, and that would hold to the mantra that since those premiums will inherently fall, that it wouldn't be. But man, this woman did it. She found a way. A lot of people call it, oh, you're making these assumptions, you're making that assumptions. Well, hell, did you remember the assumptions that they made for the tax cut scam? And now that those assumptions are completely false, and nobody is castrating Donald Trump for it right now. Nobody's telling Donald Trump, look at what you've done. You've thrown the deficit way above $1 trillion, and look at what you've cost us. That is what happens when you have a plutocratic control of the country. When I used to tell you guys that Donald Trump, don't not believe it, but the rich, very multi-rich establishment on both sides, they don't mind another Donald Trump 4 years. They don't. If it's going to be a Warren that's going to tax 6%, well, we'll go into that. Okay, the panic has begun with the release of Elizabeth Warren's Medicare for All. They asked for her plan. She called their bluff. She found a way to make the numbers work that is effectively a tax cut to the American middle class, as those who pilfered them for decades are asked to give some back. No, are told there is now a tax on what you have legally stolen. There is not the time for this is not the time for compromise, as the plutocrats are getting ready to unleash the fear. They are getting ready to throw it on, folk. They are getting ready to tell you, oh my God, if you elect Elizabeth Warren, if you elect Bernie Sanders, they are going to kill you. They're going to kill jobs. They're going to... No. The good thing about these new plans is now we are talking about an America with a social net worth the wealth the country has, inherently has. Do not fear, because under the new transformational economy, if we vote for a transformational economy, think about this, people. This is about you. If we vote for a transformational economy and not the fear, think about what fear has done for us for the last 30-something years, since Reaganomics. Think about your position. Think about your wealth. Think about all that you have. There are not a lot of executives. Oh, the executive class is the one that controls the TV stations. It's the one that controls all these things. And yes, they're telling you, oh, be afraid. And all the peons are falling in line. Oh, we need to be afraid. Do you really think those people in those newsstands care about the coal miner? Do you really think they care about that person working at McDonald's? Do you think they really care about the Kentucky Fried Chicken worker? If they did, they would be saying, bring it on. Let's start having programs that help these people. They don't do that. They just stay up there because they know for the pilfer to continue, the people who control the news media, the people who control all of this networks, they've got to tell you to be afraid. They've got to tell you, they got to diminish your one vote. My brothers who are Trumpists, you're my brother and my sisters. The people who support everybody, all the average American citizen, we're in the same boat together, even if you don't know it. Even if you think you have some attachment to Trump, Trump ain't got a damn well of an attachment to you. He cares nothing to you. You are just a cog. You are just something to allow him to continue doing what he's doing, which is pilfering the middle class, and he may throw you a bone. But remember what he said after the tax cut. He went to the rich people and said, hey guys, I gave you everything you guys wanted. You know that? I gave you everything you guys wanted. So remember, baby, keep me in power. Keep me in power. Help me out. Now, Donald Trump is receiving more money than he knows what to do with. He's getting so much money that he can now advertise. He advertised on the World Series. Millions of dollars for a half hour. Donald Trump is so awash in money that he has enough money to enslave you. Your mind, that is. Which is what he's doing. He is making a bet. Donald Trump is making a bet. The establishment, both Democrat and Republicans, they are both making a bet. Remember, their calling card is Joe Biden. Their calling card is Joe Biden. And what does Joe Biden stand for again? Oh, we can't afford Medicare for all. Oh, let's just do a public. We've spoken about why the public option will not work. We wanted it as a stopgap measure just because. But there are reasons why it will not work. It will not work. Medicare for All, as anybody who watched the program yesterday saw that we had Dr. Dean Baker, economist Dr. Dean Baker was our guest yesterday, and he expressed why Elizabeth Warren is absolutely correct with what she's doing, and we ought to be proud that this woman comes up, and she didn't go halfway. I mean, look, folks, I want you guys, I want everybody. I'm not here to raise money for Elizabeth Warren, okay? I'm not here to raise money for Bernie Sanders. But let me tell you something. Those of you who are given to centrists right now, it's time to go progressive all the way and give to Elizabeth and Bernie. Let those two fight it out to see who America is more happy with in those two, in my humble opinion. And the reason why is these are people that are looking out for you. And if we bring either one of them in, their tail coats are going to be so vast that we will bring in so many, which we need to bring in so many into the fold. People, I need you to do this. Okay, before I go into the further into, let me finish reading that, then I'll start answering some of those questions, brothers. But I'd love for some of you to call 646-716-5812, 646-716-5812. Si tengo hermanos y hermanas en español también, me puede llamar 646-716-5812. 646-716-5812. Please give us a call. We can talk about anything you want to talk about. Anyhow, I tell you what, guys, let me go ahead and finish the blog, not the entry. So, this is not the time for compromise as the plutocrats are getting ready to unleash the fear. It is time that those who oppose it are justifiably demonized for what they are and what they are doing. An evil against humanity who are intent on putting profits ahead of human life. Again, I'm going to repeat that sentence. It's a very important sentence. It is time that those who oppose it are justifiably demonized for what they are doing, for what they are and what they are doing. And what are they doing? It's an evil against humanity who are intent on putting profits ahead of human life. People, brothers and sisters, I do not write that. I do not say that lightly. This is not about my brothers and my sisters in Appalachia or wherever who think, oh my God, I don't want Medicare for all, it's going to be bad and all of that, because I understand. I understand how they came to those conclusions. They came to those conclusions because somebody made an effective argument against Medicare for all. Somebody made an effective argument. I am not going to go against what I know is happening. So I love you all. I tell you, I understand what's going on. So I will not hold that against anybody, any rank and file Democrat, any rank and file Republican, any rank and file independent or anything else, right now that you hate single payer Medicare for all, right now that you hate any one of these things, I cannot possibly hold it against you, because I understand what the plutocracy via the Powell Manifesto started back in the 70s when they wrote and talked about we have to infiltrate the churches, we have to infiltrate the media, we have to infiltrate the schools. With all of that money from businesses, from Lewis Powell, a former Democrat, and who became Supreme Court Justice appointed by Nixon, who wrote that memo that said, hey, Americans are getting smart. We have to find a way to redumb them down again so they don't realize we're taking all their money. I mean, they didn't say it in that language, right? Of course not. But if you read the text of the Powell Manifesto, which you can find at my website as well, egbertowillies.com, it'd be immediately evident that what they were doing is they had to tell Americans, hey, you have to stick with this program because, and they fooled you into voting against your own interests. Okay, let's continue with the program. Folks, folks that are leaving questions in the chat rooms, both on YouTube and on Facebook, please stay with me, stay with the program. And while you're staying with the program, whether you're on Facebook or YouTube or whatever, or Periscope, please go ahead and share this now, because we need people to start. You're not going to get this from the mainstream media. You get all this distilled information from the mainstream media. And they have to. Today when they were talking about the Elizabeth Warren things, I immediately tweeted Ali Velshi, because he was getting an interview. I said, Ali Velshi, look, you got to go ahead and ask them, how can math not prevail? Come on, Ali Velshi, you got to ask that. Why? Because they come on and a lot of times they say, okay, he said that, she said that. No, that's not what it's all about. Anyhow, I want to show you something, though, before we get into that, further into that program. Too many people have been saying, oh, when progressives are not, they hold it against progressives, their zeal to do the right thing, and they say, oh, are they going to support the team afterwards, right? And progressives, all the centrists that have run, progressives have come out to support. It is likely, the only way look, the Democratic Party only stands a chance of putting a precedent up there if it's a progressive. I will bet a piece of my finger on that we only can win with a progressive right now because a centrist offers nothing. A centrist offers nothing that Donald Trump isn't offering. In fact, Donald Trump is likely to offer a hell of a private type healthcare system that gives a semblance of working for most. It won't, but he'll give the semblance. And he will triangulate a centrist Democrat, because he has in words everything that Joe Biden has said about the healthcare system. Donald Trump changed on a dime. Donald Trump is going to do an Elizabeth Warren in the main election. So if he runs against Joe Biden, he'll become Elizabeth Warren. He'll become Bernie Sanders, as he did against Hillary Clinton. Check it out. Except for the social issues, Bernie Sanders was a pretty damn progressive campaigner. He was talking about creating these jobs. He was talking about giving away healthcare. He was talking about the best healthcare you'll ever see. I mean, he was talking about getting rid of NAFTA. He was talking about all the things that neoliberals hate. He triangulated. He still lost the popular vote, but he won where matters. But anyhow, check this out from Crystal Ball. If you want to talk about, I don't want any centrist Democrat talking about whether progressives are going to support the ticket or not. Progressives always do. But check this out.
Well, now we have a response from Manchin. In an interview with Fox News, he said that if Sanders is the nominee, he will not back him.
Bernie and I have had many conversations. I think that Bernie brings a lot to the table, makes you think a little bit, kind of gets the blood going and stirring and everything, but it's not practical where I come from. Bernie keeps saying Medicare for all. I said, Bernie, we can't even pay for Medicare for some. I says, right now the trust fund's going to go broken by 2026, and these are people that paid into it and earned it. Now you want to expand it. What happens? So it doesn't make sense at all.
What if he were your nominee for president and it's him versus Donald Trump? Who do you vote for?
It wouldn't be Bernie.
So when he was further pushed by Cavuto, Manchin would not say whether he would choose Trump, but he made it clear he would absolutely not support Sanders. Now, I want you to imagine how many near-tandon heads would automatically detonate if Bernie Sanders said he would refuse to back the Democratic nominee and hold out the possibility of choosing Trump instead. The MSM would even cut into their all-impeachment, all-the-time coverage to go into spasms of rage at the mere possibility that Sanders could possibly support Trump in this unfathomable way. Divisive, angry, makes my skin crawl. I don't doubt that some pundit or another would actually propose he was traitor to the nation for giving aid and comfort to Trump. HRC would likely emerge to accuse him of being a Russian asset, and spokesperson Nick Merrill would wittily snark, well, the nesting doll fits. Weirdly, none of that happened. As it turns out, I guess with the vote blue no matter what mantra, some exclusions do apply, namely Bernie Sanders exclusions. This whole unity thing doesn't count if it's a centrist Democrat trying to save face with their corporate patrons. It's only when it's a progressive trying to actually get something done for the working class. Manchin's refusal to back Bernie is particularly galling since he did support Hillary Clinton in 2016, a woman who was despised in the state, lost every county in the primary, and whose model of politics was honestly an integral part of selling Manchin's people down the river. Utter gutting of small towns and small cities, commodification of everything, devastation of unions, and coziness to the big pharma companies that have utterly devastated a generation of Southern West Virginians. These were the Clinton politics that Manchin was comfortable with, getting everyone health care and ending the environmental degradation that has literally poisoned the water his people drink, and allowed outsiders to come in and suck his state dry of their natural resources, leaving little in return. That is apparently, in Manchin's words, not practical.
There you go. There you go. So I thought that was an interesting piece worth talking. Okay, folks. Do you know what time it is?
It's time for the weekly blog post.
Okay, the title of the blog post today is actually, I think you guys can kind of figure that out. Elizabeth Warren's Medicare plan, no tax increases for the middle class. And it goes as follows. And while I'm reading this, I need to get one of the commenters to answer a question. I'm going to answer all of you, both Daniel, Steve, Lee Grant. I'm going to come to all of you, but Rob R. has me concerned because I wonder if Rob R. decided to read the plan or not. I am still in the middle of reading the plan, but I've read the preamble, which kind of summarizes the thing. But here's the thing. You put on there, Warren puts opponents on the defensive, more like offensive. I am appalled at how disgusting this plan is. Warren continues to prove how she is a centrist and will triangulation. Rob R., please explain that. Because I wonder if you read the plan and realize so far what I've garnered is that premiums go away and we get a 6% tax on wealth. And I want you to please tell me, where do you see that this is a centrist plan that somehow hurts the middle class and it's something insurance companies would actually want? Maybe you can, like I said, I'm still reading it, but I am shocked at the way that you describe it. So I would love for you to explain that, because we are full of truth here, and what we believe is that others would try, including others from other campaigns and Republicans, would come in here and try to lead dissension on false information. I would like you to tell me specifically what you think makes this a centrist plan. I really want to know what you think. You are a listener, a watcher. I definitely would like to know. So please feel free to comment on that, and I'll go ahead and do it after the blog of the week. Anyhow, title of the blog of the week, Elizabeth Warren's Medicare plan, no tax increases for middle class. They asked Elizabeth Warren how she was going to pay for her version of Medicare for All. And guess what? She did it. It is clear why she took her time. It is comprehensive. What I like about the document as well is everything is hyperlinked. I am still reading it and going through some of the footnotes, provide links to corroborating information. So I will follow up with a more comprehensive blog post. It is clear that the plutocracy and the corporate mainstream media are in silent panic. It came out for quite a while, and it was a while before more of them tackled it. So they must have been studying it to see what the partnership for the for America's healthcare is going to say. You know, that is a consortium that is there designed to mislead you. They will attempt to refute it, but because of the narrative in her policy paper, which feeds easily, unlike many white papers, it will be hard to do with truths. Of course, the well-constructed lies are about to begin. Warren posits very important questions to all Democratic candidates opposing Medicare for All. Given that it is impossible for them to have an acceptable answer, it would make them unelectable in the Democratic primary or the nation. I shouldn't say it would, it should make them unelectable. And here's what she said in that part that when I read that, I'm like, oh, okay. This is what she said. Not every candidate for president supports moving to a system of Medicare for All. Some who support Medicare for All will have different ideas about how to finance and structure it. And everybody knows that there must be a real transition. But you don't get what you don't fight for, and my view is clear. Every candidate who opposes my long-term goal of Medicare for All should explain why the choice of private insurance plans is more important than being able to choose the doctor that's best for you without worrying about whether they are in-network or not. Why it's more important than being able to choose the right prescription drug for you without worrying about massive differences in co-pays. Why it's more important than being able to choose to start a small business or choose the job you want without worrying about where your healthcare coverage will be coming from and how much it will cost. Every candidate who opposes my long-term goal of Medicare for All should put forward their own plan to cover everyone without costing the country anything more in healthcare spending, and while putting $11 trillion back into the pockets of the American people by eliminating premiums and virtually eliminating out-of-pocket costs. Or if they are unwilling to do that, they should concede that they think it's more important to protect the eye-popping profits of private insurance and drug companies and the immense fortune of the top 1% and giant corporations rather than provide transformative financial relief for hundreds of millions of American families. And every candidate who opposes my long-term goal for Medicare for All should put forward their own plan to make sure every single person in America can get high-quality health care and won't go broke, and fully explain how they intend to pay for it. Or if they are unwilling to do that, concede that their half measures will leave millions behind. And make no mistake, any candidate who opposes my long-term goal of Medicare for All and refuses to answer those questions directly should concede that they have no real strategy for helping the American people address the crushing costs of health care in this country. We need plans, not slogans. Yesterday, economist Dr. Dean Baker appeared on Politics Done Right to discuss Elizabeth Warren's refusal to give the corporate mainstream media a soundbite saying she would raise taxes on the middle class. She held strong, and now her bill ensures that the middle class for a change get a break. He agreed that she is handling a derelict media very well as she makes the case she wants to make. I will have to follow up on Politics Done Right today, so stay tuned. So that is what we have so far. I'm still waiting for a response from Rob R. that says, her plan is centrist. I haven't read to see when the plan kicks in. I noticed she says long-term Medicare for all. Transition meaning I don't know what long-term means, what the transition time is. I haven't read that completely in detail yet. But again, like I said, if I have to correct anything that I've said here, you know that I will. But anyhow, Lee Grant, hi Egberto and chatters. Lee Grant also says, questions, how does EW define the middle class? Where is the cutoff? I don't know exactly where that is. I'm still reading the document, but do remember one thing, and that is the 6% tax on wealth only starts at $1 billion or so. Daniel S. says, yup, us versus the plutocracy. You know it well, Daniel S. Lee Grant, how will greater taxes on large corporations not result in higher costs passed to the consumers. It will be passed to the consumers. That's what corporations do. Here's the thing, though. There is a limit to how much you can pass to consumers because of the what they call the scale of diminishing returns, right? There is a point where if you raise prices at a certain level, you start losing profits. So there is going to be what we're doing all together, Lee Grant, is rebalancing the economy, right? Right now, the economy has a bias towards the wealthy. What we are going to do is if they take more out of the economy, we will take more out of their wealth. It's that simple. You know, the economy is a closed loop. If you take more, it means less for somebody else. They want you to believe that the economy is just expanding and we can just expand ourselves or grow ourselves out of inequality, no, we can't. It's a closed loop. It's a closed, sometimes growing loop, sometimes shrinking loop. And what we have is the wealthy who have constantly been growing faster than the masses. And if the wealthy is growing at a faster clip than the masses, they have to get that extra growth in a closed system from somewhere else. And where is that somewhere else? The masses. It's math. It is basic arithmetic that they assume Americans are too dumb to know. And one of the reasons they don't want too much of an educated American. That's why Trump always used to say, I like dumb people. In other words, I like people. What he meant is I like people dumber than I am. I like people that are dumber than I am because, you know, he doesn't really have a lot upstairs. But charlatanes don't have to have a lot upstairs. They just have to be born with a silver spoon in their mouth. They just have to be, you know, that's how it goes. No, nothing there. All right, Daniel S. says, this disinformation propaganda is beginning to fail. Their disinformation propaganda is beginning to fail. Yeah, but they're good at it, Daniel. They're very good at it. We can't stop. One of the reasons I keep talking, you know, sometimes people call, some every now and then somebody will drop me a line and say, Medicare for All again? And I'll say yes with a different tone, with a different narrative. Why? Because the partnership for health care, the partnership for America's healthcare future, that's what it's called. The Partnership for America's Healthcare Future, they are incessant. They continue to really lie and lie and lie and mislead and mislead and mislead. They want you to believe that math doesn't really work. All right. They're merely stepping stones to the plutocracy. Okay, let's see. Steve Korrick says, what this doesn't consider is the incredible boost the economy will get from this additional available income. Wow. When middle and lower class working families get more income, it goes back into the economy for basic needs and bill repayment, and the net economic throughput on the money is usually on the order of 5 times the initial expenditure. I always talk about having very smart listeners. And there it is, Steve Korrick, you hit the nail on the head. But you have to remember, though, these people don't necessarily want very financially secure people. Very financially secure people that don't have to be tethered to a particular company, have something that very few corporate people like. And that is an employee base with a hell of a lot of mobility. And the reason they don't want an employee base with a hell of a lot of mobility is because if a corporation doesn't treat them right, they just go one other place. When there is mobility, when you have the transparency of healthcare, when you have a good social safety net that if you're unemployed, you don't starve and die. Wow, don't you have mobility to go to the next job that offers an incentive for you to work well for them? And suddenly pricing even becomes better, right? Because whereas we like to treat a garbage man like he's a scourge of the earth, I have so much respect for my garbage man, it's pathetic. I respect my garbage man than I used to respect my stockbroker in the days that I had one. Of course, politics doesn't pay well, so I don't have one anymore. But, again, that is what we're talking about. So, Steve Korrick, thank you very much for that very smart statement. Steve Korrick also says, the effects, let's see. Steve Korrick also says, the effects of this would be similar to Andrew Yang's basic income plan of $1,000 per month per family. Yeah, and you know, I was at Netroots and I did some interviews with a lot of people that were talking about BI, right? They're actually testing it, and there's this particular producer of a documentary that was out there, and what it turns out to be is he didn't want to tell me the results of their test that they're doing, but it seemed to have worked very well. He kind of gave me the wink wink, you got to promote my movie, but it's working very well. Okay, Lawrence Sims says, what are the reasons why Obamacare can't be amended and transformed into all that is designed to be in M4 Medicare for All? Obamacare is flawed because Obamacare depends on the private insurance systems in some sort of a marketplace. It keeps the employer-based insurance available. And what all these things do is take about 12, look, the nominal fee is 12% over. In other words, if you pay all the premiums that you pay, 12% of that goes to executive shareholders and all these other things. If you had a single payer, all of that money goes to one person, to do medical care only. Okay? That's all it does. It goes to that only. So we have to remember that. We have to remember that very well. Okay? That is something that we have to remember. It goes directly to that. All right, let's see. Let's go to Lee. What is it here? Who is it here? Who is this here? Who is this here now? Lee Grant. Reasonable people can disagree on how healthcare is delivered. I have concerns about Warren's latest scheme. That does not make me an evil against humanity. Lee Grant, let me explain what I meant by that, okay? And you are not the evil against humanity at all, Lee Grant. You are not. It's the person who is misleading you that is the evil against humanity. You're correct. Healthcare can be delivered in a lot of different ways. Insurance doesn't deliver healthcare. Insurance pays for healthcare. So why should we pay billions, $350 billion for healthcare? Why should we pay $350 billion a year to insurance agents, to fat cats, to shareholders who do nothing about healthcare delivery? They pay for healthcare. So my brother Lee Grant, there is nothing evil against you. Nothing. But it's a person who is misleading you into voting against your own interests. It's a person who is lying to you because they know better. They are evil. Joe Biden, because he knows better, is evil. Yes, I said it. You cannot talk about a system you know is a failure, that you know people get killed, that people die. You cannot know that. Still do it and not consider yourself evil. You cannot. I'm sorry, you cannot. Daniel Ledo, c'est la vie. Lee Grant, it's time that those who oppose it are justifiably demonized for what they are and what they are doing, an evil against humanity. Yes, you quoted what I said. And I'm not talking about the rank and file. I am definitely talking about the people who are misleading the rank and file, the people who are having people vote against their own interests. That is who I'm talking for, Lee Grant, not you. Mike Cisak, Egberto still refused to address the inflation that M4A would induce into the health industry. Medicare caused inflation when it was put into place. That is a fallacy. That is a fallacy. Completely. Medical inflation, you know what, my dear brother and sister. If somebody raises prices for healthcare, you clamp them down. It's not a free market in healthcare. It's not. Anybody who wants to make healthcare a product doesn't understand that healthcare cannot be a product. Insurance cannot be a product. A product is an iPhone. A product is a cup. A product is something like that. But when you start to talk about humanity as healthcare, you're nothing more than a slave driver. Nothing more. Because you have suddenly put that in that domain of cost. You cannot. Folks, we have to rebrand our paradigm. We have to change the paradigm under which we have been forced to believe. This paradigm was instituted into us by the Powell Manifesto, by an economic system that is nothing more than a fraud, an economic system that says capital has more value than humanity. When we inculcate that in our minds and realize that is what we're saying, then we can come up with a system that is both productive, efficient, and also rewards humanity first. But a system created where it depends on harming people, a system created where it depends on somebody holding the whip on somebody else, systems that have its genesis in those foundations are evil inherently. Inherently so. And the only way to solve it is to grow out of it. But first, we have to have the resolve of no fear. First, we have to realize that there is no fear in doing the right thing. Over the next several days, that is what folks are going to try to inculcate in folks' mind. They are going to scare you to death. They're going to tell you it costs jobs. They're going to forget to tell you that the economy is going to increase because the money, look, economics 101. You put more money in the pockets of the middle class and the poor, they spend it right away, and economic activity generates income. Economic activity means the baker, the candlestick maker, they will have more business and they'll have to buy more flour, they'll have to buy more wax, they'll have to buy more of everything. And the people they buy it from will have to buy more machines and all. It works. You give all that money to the top, exactly what happened with the Trump tax cut scam, as I told you before. The first 7 months before the tax cut, the economy is humping. The 7 months after the tax cut, where you should have had a long sugar high, assuming that they did what they said they were going to do with the tax cuts, which just put it right back into the economy. Nope. They did a whole lot of stock buybacks. They gave a little bit as bonuses so they could have something to show on TV. And then the economy started to decline. The 128,000 job report today that they said, oh, it was better than expected. Then they looked into the numbers and said, oh my God, but look at the kind of jobs that's getting created in retail sector and a hospitality sector. And oh my God, no real jobs of substance, and manufacturing is all the way down. Folks, but brothers, my sisters, we have got to do independent thinking. We cannot fall for the same crap over and over. I'm getting close to the end of the program, and this time I'm not going to forget to put my little poll out there and say, folks, please go to politicsdoneright.com. I see I won't get any calls today, but please go to politicsdoneright.com. Please become a subscriber to our humble or show. Please become a subscriber and say, yes, we want to support Politics Done Right. Who's going to be out there seeking the truth? Who's going to be out there telling us the truth? It is important that we do that. politicsdoneright.com. politicsdoneright.com. Look, thank you so kindly for spending this time with us. Thank you so kindly for, I respect all of those who listen to me, whether you agree or not. Whether you agree or not. The one thing I have is utmost respect that you've given me the honor to be on your screen, that you have given me the honor to be on your iPods, your iPhones, your Droid, your MP3 player. Please go to Stitcher. We are on Stitcher, Stitcher or iTunes. You can get all our podcasts, and we always have Q366 of them. So you can go and get our iPod or go to iPod, Stitcher, TuneIn. We're all over the place. Become a part of the family. politicsdoneright.com. That is how we are going to make the change. I know a lot of what I've said. Sometimes people sit back and worry, is that really real what Egberto is saying? Could it really be that way? Folks, I don't only believe this, I live this. I left quite a bit to do this because I realized the scam that it was and it would maintain. And I have a daughter, and I know you have a daughter, kids, families. We have got to turn this juggernaut around, and we have got to stop being slaves to a system who have learned the art of antiseptic slavery. We have got to understand what antiseptic slavery looks like. You have this, it's like you're in the, what do you call that movie? Where you're living in a dream world, where it's not real. You know the movie. That is what we're in today. We're into smoke and mirrors, where people tell you things and you have the false belief that something is the way that it isn't. But you know what? We all have minds, and you have a mind of your own. Please use it. Please stay with us. Please support us. Please go to politicsdoneright.com and click on Patreon to become a subscriber, or click on PayPal to become a monthly subscriber or a one-time donor, or go ahead and support us on our GoFundMe to get our new equipment for doing all these videos. I mean, it takes a hell of a lot of computer things, and we're kind of behind on that. So we need your support. This is how we are going to make the change. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. And you know how I end this baby. First of all, thank you again for giving me your eyeballs and your ears, or just your ears if you're listening on podcasts on Stitcher, iTunes, or TuneIn. You have a wonderful, or playf.fm, Google Play that is. You have a wonderful day. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right, and I am what? Out!
Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is the progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. Remember, you can also send me a tweet to EGBERTOWILLIES. That is, at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right.
1, 2, 3, 4.